her deepest thoughts. Nyx is a poet, a wanderer in the true sense of the word, the godmother of rock and roll, a white-winged dove in a sea of city pigeons, the high witch of the coven herself. But how did Stevie Nicks become Stevie Nicks? Hi, my name is Saisa, and this is Band-Aid Productions. In this essay, I'd like to go into who Stevie Nicks is and mainly how we as a society perceive her. This is an angle I am hoping to continue exploring in following videos regarding different artists. I started this video by asking around for people's opinions on Stevie. The consensus was that she's beloved by all, at least something's right in the world. When asked why, a slew of reasons were given. It's her lyrics, her honesty and authenticity, it's the escapism they provide, it's the beauty of her voice and her skill in performing, it's her air of mysticism and her witchy persona. So how did Stevie Nicks become Stevie Nicks? Stephanie Lynn Nicks was born on May 26, 1948, making her a Gemini, in Phoenix, Arizona. As a little kid, she couldn't pronounce her name quite right. It came out as Stevie, and thus the nickname Stevie was born. She and her family moved around constantly, never allowing her to develop solid relationships with her peers. Her mother was protective and sheltered Stevie. She entertained her young daughter with myths and fairy tales, and Stevie became infatuated with the tales, using them as a way to escape her mundane life. As she later said, "There is a part of me that has to depend on fantasy. Because if you can't be somewhat of a fantasy person, then you can't write." She later started using music as an escape as well. Her grandfather had taught her how to sing duets by the age of 4, so the love was always there. But once she entered her teens, she would brew in her room with her records, retreating in her own musical little world. She got a Goya guitar for her 16th birthday and used it to write her first song called "I've Loved and Lost and I'm Sad But Not Blue." She later frequently used mythical tales and folklore influences in her music. She uses these references to call the listener and invite them into a safe space where they can freely be themselves. As Annie Zaleski wrote in The Guardian, her songs exuded whimsy even as they examined power dynamics through the lens of strong female characters, the shape-shifting Rhiannon, the slippery morality practiced by the Goldust Woman, and the seductive pull of the Sisters of the Moon. Nicks' lyrics spoke directly to women about their own experiences, the intoxicating romance of best friendship, the tingling possibilities of idealized love, and the tendrils of drama and affection underpinning it all. Nicks has journaled her entire life, journaling each day for years. She uses it to put down her thoughts and to try and see the bigger story. And Stevie's story has had its ups and downs. She and Lindsey Buckingham met in 1967 when Nicks was a senior in high school. He was playing California Dreaming, she joined him in Perfect Harmony, it's like something out of a rom-com. And Buckingham and Nicks did have a love story for the ages. She joined his band Fritz 6 months into dating him, and from 1986 till 1970 the band was on the road opening up for Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix. Nicks would later credit Joplin and Hendrix for inspiring her performance style. Fritz disbanded in 1972 and Buckingham Nicks landed a deal with Polydor Records, releasing the very originally named Buckingham Nicks in 1973. A commercial success it was not, and they were dropped by the label. For the next 2 years, the duo lived from paycheck to paycheck. Nicks took jobs as a waitress, Buckingham taking guitar gigs where he could. It was a hard time that was beneficial for Nicks' creative output. She wrote Rhiannon and Landslide during this period. It was also when she first started dabbling with cocaine. On New Year's Eve 1974, Buckingham gets a call from Mick Fleetwood inviting him to join his band. Buckingham says he and Nicks are a package, and after a brief debate, Buckingham Nicks joined Fleetwood Mac. They released their very originally named debut, Fleetwood Mac, in 1970 to moderate success. But it was their follow-up, Rumors, that would really launch their career to new heights. Released in 1977, it's still regarded as one of the best albums of all time, with Rolling Stone ranking it number 7 in their top 500 albums of all time. If you're unfamiliar with behind-the-scenes situation at the time of making Rumors, let me catch you up. So, there's 5 people in Fleetwood Mac. We've got Stevie on vocals and tambourine, we have Buckingham on guitar, Mick Fleetwood on drums, then John McVie on bass, and Christine McVie on keyboards and vocal. Now, Buckingham and Nicks had been united since 1967, and John and Christine McVie had been married for 8 years by the time they recorded Rumors. Relationships on the work floor can work, but in this case it was a total disaster, and it all came to a climax during the recording sessions of Rumors in the spring of 1976. John and Christine were on the brink of divorce, and they were on non-speaking terms. Nix and Buckingham were also on non-speaking terms, instead shouting at each other all day. They had recently ended their relationships, and emotions were at an all-time high. It was also around this time that Nix had a fling with Fleetwood, after which they couldn't stand each other anymore as well, as proven by the album cover, because this was the only shot they could get where they didn't look like they were going to murder each other. And yet, Rumors became the biggest success of their career. This in huge part to everyone simultaneously using music as therapy and writing down their feelings. The performances seem more heartfelt, Nix and McVie laying it all bare in the vocals. Nix speaks honestly in the lyrics of Dreams, and Buckingham retaliated with Go Your Own Way. So I wrote Dreams, and because I'm the chiffony girl who believes in fairies and angels, and Lindsay is a hardcore guy, it turns out differently. Lindsay says go ahead and hang out with other men and live your shitty life, and I sing about the rain that washes you clean. We came up with this from opposite angles, but we really said exactly the same thing. Nix using her music to work through her emotions has allowed her to develop a special bond with her listeners. She lays bare her truth in her lyrics, and we feel with her. Another relationship Nix has been very open about is her relationship with drugs. Having dabbled with drugs consistently since 1972, by the time Rumors was released, she was an addict. Fleetwood Mac's success meant that the band had started indulging in the rock star lifestyle, and drugs were in ample supply, even being accounted for in the budget of the making of the album. Nix said she always had a gram of coke in her boot. One rarely finds a role model who snorted so much cocaine she tore a permanent hole in her nose. Nix has made no secrets of her years on blow, complemented with alcohol and pot, and fostered by long hours, stage fright, stress over her relationship with Buckingham, a sudden immense wealth, and fatigue from the Epstein-Barr virus she contracted following complications from leaking silicone breast implants, an addiction that she kicked at Betty Ford in 1986. Or of her 8 years on Klonop, the benzo she'd been prescribed to make sure she wouldn't go back on coke, for which she checked herself into a hospital for 47 days in 1993. Nix would like it to be clear that one rumor should be corrected. It was said that after she tore the hole in her nose, that she paid a roadie to blow the powdery substance up her back exit. This is completely false. Nix's drug use today is barely a footnote in her biography, and her issues with substance abuse are just seen as part of the rock star lifestyle that she lived. She has not become defined by it like so many of her peers, some of whom didn't survive their battle. Nix may romanticize a lot for the sake of telling an enticing story, but balances this well with her honesty. Speaking of dramatization for the sake of storytelling, surprisingly, or actually unsurprisingly, the number one thing that came up when I asked people what they loved about Stevie Nicks was her witchy vibes. I blame the millennials and Gen Z's renewed fascination for horror and the thus ensuing success of American Horror Story. Nicks starred in the third season of the show as herself. I'd like to share this from the American Horror Story fan wiki. Stevie Nicks is the White Witch who writes and sings rock and roll songs with her band Fleetwood Mac. She has been active in the music industry since 1966, when she was 18. Her lyrics can be interpreted by fellow witches to find out her true form. So, yeah, that's that. Stevie Nicks is the White Witch. Or is it? Well, actually, it turns out that Nix's witchy persona is a conscious creation. It was the early days of Fleetwood Mac, and having taken inspiration from Hendrix and Joplin, along with her own personal influences, she set out to create an onstage persona. As Nix said, a long time ago I decided I was going to have a kind of mystical presence, so I made my clothes, my boots, my hair, and my whole being go with that. But it wasn't something that I just made up at that point. It's the way I've always been. I've always believed in good witches, not bad witches, and fairies and angels. The gypsy bohemian aesthetic, courtesy in part to designer Margie Kent, has become synonymous with Stevie. This onstage persona allows her to perform her songs more honestly, fittingly, and they add theatrics to every single Fleetwood Mac show. Stevie's performance visuals reach down into the thematic roots of some of her most famous songs. Black chiffon and maybe a top hat for the enchantress Rhiannon, a red shawl to wrap around her head for the tragic ballad Sarah, a gold-fringed one to shake with the fearsome and primal power of the Gold Dust Woman, These costume pieces are not just the ego trappings of a beautiful star, they are the props of the well-known narratives that come alive when she comes on stage to reenact them once again. Nyx uses her fashion choices and her persona based on the story she wants to tell. Everything she does is in service of storytelling. Nyx has lived her life through stories and doesn't mind sharing them. There are so many layers to each moment in life. I always climb into the next layer of my stories and have to pull it back when I see someone on the side of the stage waving their hands, yelling, "No, no, stop!" In December 2019, Nyx was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for a second time, the first woman to do so. She was inducted by Harry Styles, with whom she's developed a friendship. As he said during his induction speech, Stevie means so much more to people than their favorite song or a concert they went to once. Her strength, fearlessness, and openness to feeling is something that leaves you feeling lucky to be on the planet at the same time as her. She inspires you to be bolder in work, life, and love. Nyx has become a mentor figure to Styles, and he's right about Nyx being a source of inspiration to be bolder. She's a mentor to every one of her listeners, and encourages us boldly to go along in her songs and stories and feel what she has felt, and thus encourages us to feel as well. She writes honestly, unprovokedly about life and its tribulations, yet she never fails to see the beauty in things. She created this ethereal persona for herself and for her immortal offspring, as a way of expressing her inner world. Yet this persona is no alter ego, it's Stevie in her truest form, at her highest state of being. When you listen to her words, she is your friend and confidant, she is authentically herself, she answers to no one, and through her music she gives us as listeners something to really connect to. She is there for you, sharing the good times and helping you escape the bad times. She's omnipresent in the background of our lives, like a good witch, watching over us. Hi there, I hope you liked this video. Tell me what you love about Stevie Nyx in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you wish to see more content like this. Stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you next time.